They tried to make me disappear from my own property, not with weapons, but with paperwork, drones, and concrete blocks. The first block across my driveway felt like a bad joke. The second one stayed, and that's when the joke ended. My name is Michael. I'm 39, I build systems for a living, and the whole point of buying that ragged house on the edge of Pine Hollow Estates was to get away from Noise the Creek, the line of firs, a private lane that smudged into the trees. I paid for an independent title search. I had a lawyer read the maps. My parcel was excluded from the HOA plain as day. So when a glossy HOA packet landed on my doorstep with dues and a membership covenant and the president's name underlined like a threat, I assumed a mistake. I sent the deed. I sent the attorney letter. I thought that would be it. Instead, two men in reflective vests with HOA compliance units stamped across their chests strolled up my drive. One held a clipboard, the other filmed me like I was auditioning for an expose. "Sign this covenant, clipboard guy," said, smiling as if a page could rearrange county records. I stood there in my slippers, coffee in hand, and told them to leave. 3 days later, a white panel van and 2 highway-grade concrete barriers blocked the lane. Suddenly, my smart gate wasn't the gate to the world anymore, it was the front of a cage. When you can't leave your house, the small things get loud. The trees felt quieter. Neighbors crossed the street. A flyer with a stock photo face accused me of undermining community safety and was shoved under my door. Someone hammered a metal post into the ground at the start of the lane, "Non-compliant parcel, public safety pending." My fiber line got tagged, "Service under investigation." My power blinked in a way that felt like intimidation. Little moves all designed to squeeze. I called the sheriff. 2 deputies came polite and read the HOA packet and shrugged. "This is a civil dispute," one said. "You'll need a judge. Translation, we can look official and take notes, but we can't haul concrete blocks off private property while nobody's being violently restrained." I was legally free but practically stuck, and bureaucracy, I learned, can be a very effective jail. So I documented. Cameras went up, one trained on the blockade, another on the driveway. I backed everything to the cloud-logged plate numbers, annotated times, saved every flyer. A drone showed up one evening, hovered near the back porch like a nervous wasp, and if you squinted at the footage, you could make out tiny lettering, "Pine Hollow Compliance Aerial Division." It felt ridiculous and sickening at once. Enter Sam. Sam and I went to college together. He drifted into private investigation in that sideways, stubborn way some people find their work. He showed up with a glove box full of old Polaroids and a talent for making files talk. Sam dove into county records and found a map amendment the HOA had filed 2 years earlier claiming my parcel, and the county had rejected it for lack of consent and messy boundaries. Yet inside the HOA's internal binders, my lot was listed as theirs. "Dual paperwork," Sam said, leaning over my kitchen table like it was a puzzle he loved. One for the county, one for their courtroom of friends. We tracked a name through the filings, Daniel West, the president's brother, who worked as a GIS technician in the county office. When a relative in a mapping job shows up in paperwork that benefits a private board, coincidence becomes collusion. Their tactics multiplied, staged inspections, fines, slipped under doors, service disruptions that had no legitimate work orders, people in plain blazers measuring ditches like they were drawing new lines on a map. Everything felt calibrated to one-end attrition. Wear the owner down, make life expensive, annoying, and slow until signing looks easier than fighting. I refused to be a trided. Sam found 2 other homeowners who'd gotten the same packets. A retired veteran who'd had his gate blocked, a quiet developer who found compliance tickets taped to his car. We pooled our anger and our evidence and did something a little radical. We incorporated. The Pine Hollow Free Owners Association, PHFOA, a nonprofit with a purpose, create standing, share legal costs, and file back. Rebecca, my lawyer, called the plan audacious and then filed the motions before we could chicken out. We asked the court for injunctive relief, lodged complaints with the state attorney general and the housing office, and filed a civil suit for unlawful interference, trespass, defamation, and attempted annexation without due process. We also told a local reporter quietly at first because press is a blunt instrument that makes hidden things harder to hide. The HOA responded with page after page of glossy governance documents, long, intimidating, full of phrases like soft jurisdiction and conditional annexation. One 78-page packet landed on my porch and read like legal cosplay, dense, scary, intended to make someone without a lawyer think they were wrong. But a 78-page packet looks different to a litigator. Rebecca read it, rolled her eyes, and typed, not filed, fictional, do not sign. Then Sam found emails, the twist plain text between Karen and Daniel that used terms like soft integration targets and jurisdiction persuasion strategy. The black charter they enforced internally existed in notes and ledgers in a shadow account where money from soft jurisdiction parcels had been funneled. It wasn't just a power trip. It was a scheme reclassify land on private overlays, pressure owners collect money, expand reach. Federal investigators arrived on a gray morning. U.S. Marshals with sealed warrants and county auditors with clipboards took boxes from the clubhouse. They seized annotated binders, the black charter in print and in hand, and spreadsheets that didn't match official budgets. Karen was arrested in her robe. Her brother was escorted from his office. Watching them led away was surreal, and I won't lie, satisfying in a way that surprised me. The concrete blocks came down that afternoon. County crews used a front loader and stomped on the whole surreal setup like it was a bad movie prop. One of the crew cheered when the barricade fell, the kind of cheer you hear when something that was wrong is being made right. A county notice replaced the scary sign, "Private property protected under revised jurisdiction order." It felt like the air had been cleared. Court followed. The judge called their unified charter an elaborate pseudo-legal framework and threw it out. We got restitution for property damage, lost services, and legal fees. The court's order dissolved the HOA as a legal entity for systemic abuse and ordered tighter scrutiny on governance practices. PHFOA got formal recognition from the county as an advisory body representing non-HOA parcels, which, yes, is an odd victory. We became a legitimate counterweight to a group that tried to make up its own rules. There are smaller, quieter consequences, too. I still keep a printed copy of my deed on the fridge next to pizza coupons. I don't go to every block barbecue. Friendliness can be a thin sheet over a lot of conformity. I repainted the porch, repaired the bird feeder the drones had scared away, and let the chickadees come back. I sleep easier, but I still notice the hum of the sky when I walk outside. Old habits die slowly. If there's a moral, it's this: paperwork and polite smiles can be a cover for predatory power. Community works when it's mutual. It fails when community becomes a vocabulary for control. And one practical takeaway: if a letter arrives in your mailbox and something about it smells off, don't toss it. Photograph it, save it, get legal eyes on it. Receipts and timestamps are quiet weapons that matter. We got justice in the end. The system worked when people pushed, pressed, and refused to be intimidated. But the bigger, scarier question I want you to think about is this: how many quiet rules and unchallenged papers in your own neighborhood are actually bargaining chips for someone else's power? Have you ever been nudged or cornered by a community rule that felt more like control? Tell me. Share your story, say what you do or what you did. If this pushed a button, post it, comment, and warn a neighbor to read their mail. You'd be surprised how often the house next door is where the real story begins, and how many of us will stand up when the paperwork starts to stack.